உள்ளதலதுள்ள உணர்வு உள்ளதோ உள்ள பொருள் உள்ளலர உள்ளத்தே உள்ளதான் உள்ளமெனும் உள்ள பொருள் உள்ளல் எவன் உள்ளத்தே உள்ளபடி உள்ளதே உள்ளலுணர்வாயே. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses from Ulladu Narpadu. We have come to the verse number 18. உலகுண்மையாகும் உணர்வில்லார்க்குள்ளார்க்கு உலகளவாம் உண்மை உணரார்க்கு உலகினுக்கு ஆதாரமாய் உருவற்றாரும் உணர்ந்தாருண்மை ஏதாகும் வேதமிவர் கெண்ணுக. According to Sivaprakasham Pillai, the one whom Bhagavan says Sivaprakasham Pillai, Sivaprakasham Anar, one of the devotees, disciples, who is certified by Bhagavan himself to have merged in the Shivam. He and Kanakamal, the one who was the essential part of that scintillating display by Bhagavan of his prowess in 2010, when on his Jayanti day he took her or absorbed her right in front of all of us. When we were sitting there in the hall, she did 3 pradakshanams and she was absorbed in Bhagavan. Such a one and Sivaprakasham Pillai, both of them, when they write commentary, they say the verses 15, 16, 17 and 18 make time, place, Sharira and Loka, the world, the Vishwam, all as adhyasa, all as superimpositions on the self. And Sivaprakasham Pillai concludes the small comment by saying one has to turn inward, away from the pravritti marga of following time, place, Sharira and Vishwam, and one has to hold the self. That is the instruction indirectly given here, because the discussion is not yet about Atmauchara. So that is where we are headed. We are headed towards the closure of one small subsegment within the investigation part. In the investigation part, we saw verses 5, 6, 7 deal with the world, verses 8 on to 22 with Ishvara, and 23, 24, 25, 26 on the ego. Then 27, 28, 29 and 30 are the marga, the practice, the vichara, and then the anubhava segment from 31 onwards. Some include the 30 in anubhava, some following Upadesha Saram include the 30th in the vichara itself, the culmination of vichara. But back to where we are. The context is that there is a small subtopic that is being closed. That Kala, Desha, Sharira and Vishwa. Today the object of discussion is Vishwa. Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullark. Ulagalavam Unmai Unarark. Ulaginukku Adharamai Uruvatrarum Unarndar Unmai Idahum Vedamivarken. So there is going to be some delineation of the difference in the sight between the Ajnani and the Jnani, and asking us, instructing us to turn towards the direction shown by the Jnani. The first part is Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullark. So just like the previous verse, which went about Udalnane Tannai Udararkum Unarndarkum, I had suggested that the play was one of the limitation of grammar. When we listen to Chomsky, one of the authorized linguists of today, he says grammar is full of holes. One expects grammar to be perfect, but he says grammar is full of holes. But it is like any other science, he says, that it assumes certain things on the part of the human being. That as human beings, what we know is assumed by grammar, and it doesn't even bother to fill the gaps. It knows that it is a limited indicator, and it leaves for the human being with the pre-existing knowledge to understand the sentence in the proper way. That is how Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullark. For both the Ajnani and the Jnani, Ulag Unmayahum. The Ulag and Unmay are the two words. Ulage Unmayahum Ajnanik. Ulag Unmayahum Jnanik. So that is what we had gone into in the previous verse. So I'm not going to go into much of the description of the grammar or the content in that sentence, both for the one who is ignorant of the self and for the one who is a jnani, who is in self-knowledge. The world is the truth. Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullark. Ulagalavam Unmai Unarark. To the one who is ignorant, who is still not cleared his Hridaya Granthi, for such a one, the truth is limited to the extent of the world he can see. Whatever world he is capable of seeing, or it is capable of seeing, the animal, to that extent alone, its world or his world, the truth limits itself to that. Whereas, Ulagunmayahum Unarvillarku Ullarku, Ulagalavam Unmai Unararku, Ulaginukku Adharamai Uruvatru Arum Unardar Unmai. To the one who has realized the Atman, the self-luminous self. For the moment, let us say that one who has abided in the Spurana, indicated by Bhagavan as I, which also becomes quiescent if held without asking anything, says Bhagavan. But to the one who has realized the Akhanda Atma, to such a one, the Akhanda Atma is Uruvatru Arum. It does not have name or form. And that nameless and formless current, or the nameless and formless self, is the Adhara, is the truth. for this world of name and forms. So even when the jnani sees the names and forms, he recognizes or he understands or he is abiding in the truth of the world as this Purana. He is not interested in the differences created by the Nama and Rupa and the power structure, the beauty differences, the intelligence differences. All these do not touch the jnani because he is no more seeing the snake. He is seeing the rope directly. And as per the indication that when the snake is perceived and feared of, the rope is obviously not seen. And when the rope is clearly perceived, the seeing of the snake or the fear of it is obviously not there because the differences get absorbed in the Akanda Swarupa, Akanda Atma. Ulaginukku Adharamai, as the Adhara, as the substrate. The substrate allows one to transcend the world. If that substratic relationship had not been there, then how to transcend? What to hold and transcend? Ulaginukku Adharamai. That's why Bhagavan says, even in sadhana, in the Jnana Bhumikas, in the Tanumanasa stage, where the Vicharana takes hold very deeply and the Vasanas have been burnt predominantly, there itself one starts experiencing this Purana off and on, he says. How is one who has not yet stepped out of the Ajnana, how is he able to feel this Purana? Because it is the Adhara. So, sporadically seeing Purana in sadhana is not jnana, says Bhagavan in Ramana Gita. He says that should not be taken as jnana. Only when the identity completely shifts from ajnana to jnana can one say that one is a jivan mukta. But that's not the topic in reference here, at least not yet. So we get back to the topic at hand, that Ulaginukku Adharamai Uruvatru Arum Unarndar Unmai. The truth of the jnani underlies substratically as the support of the false world of name and forms and shines self-luminously. Idagam Bedamivar Ken. This is the difference. That is, to the Ajnani, the truth is limited to the extent of the world that he knows. A bit of that in a few minutes. To the Jnani, however large or small the differences may be in names and forms, doesn't matter at all, because he is always fixed in the jnana, in the bodha, in the swaswarupa. So, this is the difference between the two. Though both of them say that the world is the truth. Though both of them say that world is the truth, the world alone or the limits of the world alone define the truth of the Ajnani. The world, though appearing, is now absorbed in the fullness of the nameless and formless self by the jnani. Even though the eyes give in the data of names and forms, the truth is abided in as the Akanda Atma by the jnani. The Ulagu, all the names and forms, the smallest to the largest, is only this Purana to the jnani. This is the difference between the two. So we have somehow summed up the verse quite early, but some job is left to be done because we had opened up certain things in Udal Nane. In Udal we had gone into the concept of expansion. that we may identify with whole of time, we may identify with a whole country, or much more, the whole of the universe, when one is completely absorbed in the problem of pollution or global warming and totally involves in that to the exclusion of all else. Bhagavan says in the talks, that is bhakti. That is bhakti marga. Because slowly the object of absorption, the object of devotion will displace other objects, or there will be dispassion for everything else, till the object of love alone remains. So the concern for the whole universe, at least the known universe by the human being, that can be an object of worship. To that extent, his consciousness can have a darshana, a Vishwarupa darshana. So, in these two verses, verse number 17 and 18, Bhagavan is more or less taking us through the chapters 10 and 11 of Bhagavad Gita. The expansion of consciousness shown by Sri Krishna, of course, delineating the importance of Atma Swarupa even in the beginning. The Vishwarupa Darshana, that is, we were talking of some expansion of consciousness, and we had to take that to its conclusion. So, what is the largest expansion of consciousness that is displayed in the scriptures? As we see, it is obviously the Vishwarupa Darshana. In fact, it starts with Atma Darshana in 10:20, chapter 10, verse 20, which Bhagavan also takes in Bhagavad Gita Sara. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhuta Shayastitah Aham Adischa Madhyamcha Bhutanam Antayevacha. Whatever bhutas you may see, whatever objects of name and form you may see, I am the Atma, I am the Self, O Gudakesha. Sarvabhuta Shayastita. Even if the whole creation, whatever lokas it may involve, are taken as one entity, I am there before that. And I exist during their existence and I am after they end. Therefore, I am the only truth. Hold me. Only those who cannot meditate on this 1020, the Atma Swarupa, Sri Krishna delineates the vibhutis, those areas within which the manifestation of God is felt more strongly. There he goes ahead and says, if you cannot directly feel the magnificence, the beauty, the all-encompassing power of the Atma Swarupa, doesn't matter. Take the Surya, take Margari Masa, take Gayatri Mantra, take any of this. Allow your consciousness to expand to that. Take the concept of beauty, take the concept of cunningness. Any of this you take, allow your consciousness to expand to that. Then I will take you forward. But you can meditate on any of these vibhutis where my presence is better felt, not merely as a powerless existence, but as an existence with knowledge and with power and with happiness, all loaded into that Mahat. You can meditate on any of these vibhutis. More than 35 such vibhutis are mentioned. But then he goes to the highest vibhuti of all in the names and forms, the expansion, the highest expansion, he goes in the Vishwarupa Darshana, in the chapter 11. What is the yoga of all these? What is the yoga or bringing together of all these vibhutis? Asks Arjuna. Arjuna asks, what is the net result of having all these vibhutis together? Bringing them together is the yoga. And let me see them, he says. Like somebody wants to see a theory put through in a lab and then only he believes. Like that, Arjuna wants to see Sri Krishna in the aggregated form, in the yogic form of Vishwarupa. So, indirectly, in Atmavichara, the consciousness can expand up to that. Whatever may be the Vibhuti, the Bhakti Marga allows the consciousness to expand and by surrender to that, because Sayujya happens at each stage. And the Vishwarupa is the ultimate in name and form. There, Sri Krishna says, before that, he says, even rishis, even maharishis is the word used. Even maharishis and gods do not know me. Even maharishis and gods do not know me. So Bhagavan is called Maharishi sometimes and Bhagavan sometimes. So we clearly understand why he gives the identity as Hariyaditara Jivara Ahavarisa Guhayil Arivairami Paramatman Arunachala Ramanan. When asked who you are, he does not say Maharishi or he does not say even God or Bhagavan. He says Hariyaditara Jivara Ahavarisa Guhayil Arivai Rami Paramatman Arunachala Ramanan. I am the self, I am the Atman, I am the Paramatman, residing in the heart self-luminously. And we clearly understand while looking into chapter 10 and chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, why it is that Bhagavan doesn't stop at the title Maharishi or even Bhagavan. In that chapter it is said that even the Maharishis and gods do not know me because I precede them. For the simple reason that the Atma exists, the Paramatma exists before any entity is created. So no entity can know it is the definition given in the Bhagavad Gita. The Atma, the Paramatma cannot be known by another individuality. The only way to know it is to drop the individuality. But much of that later in Ulladu Narpadu. For the present moment, let us stick to the highest expansion which we were talking in terms of I am the body. Udal nane tannai unararkum unardarkum udalave nan tan unararke. We have seen that incident where Jagatishwara Shastri is taken by Bhagavan in almost a humorous incident. Bhagavan, right in the middle of the day, when the Tiruvannamalai sun is almost right up in the skies, he asks Jagadishwara Shastri to come out. I think it must have been in Skandashram days or Virupaksha days, because Jagadish Shastri is with Bhagavan from 1915 itself. So not very clear to me about the time, but both the places are surrounded by Arunachala, the rocks of Arunachala, and they are scalding hot. And Bhagavan wants him to come, and he says, Bhagavan, how can I come out? How can we walk on the hill at this time? What? Am I not a two-legged human being like you? Am I not walking? Why can't you walk? And Bhagavan drags him, and a few minutes, the Jagadishwara Shastri is jumping for dear life because the soles of the feet are burning on the Bhagavan. I told you. Then Jagadishwara Shastri is instructed by Bhagavan, oh Jagadisha, do you think that Surya will be feeling the heat? That will Surya, who is generating all this through his radiation, do you think he will be feeling this heat? Then Jagadish Shastri says no. Then Bhagavan says, then tell Suryosmi, Suryo Asmi, and identify with Surya Bhagavan. The instruction by Bhagavan, the Adhikari of that mantra too, immediately sinks in. And Jagadish Shastri says he was chanting that mantra, and the heat went away, and in a few moments it became all very cool. Then he says the identity or the benefit of the mantra had become so permanent that he did not have to remember or hold the mantra for its benefit. He could walk anywhere in the hot sun. So the expansion of consciousness to that of the Suryo Asmi was seen practically in that instance where Jagdish Shastri is given the siddhi of bearing with the heat. To Chaganlal Yogi, he says, while walking barefoot in the tar road of Bombay, probably not in the rainy season, but right in the midst of summer, where the tar is almost melting, Chaganlal Yogi asks, I think, how can you do this? And Jagdish Shastri narrates the incident of Suryo Asmi, the expansion of consciousness. But staying with that, staying with the same topic, Sri Krishna says, Kalosmi. Now slowly we move to the maximum point of expansion in name and form. That is obviously the Vishwarupa Darshana. There in chapter 11, Arjuna says, now that you have shown me the vibhutis, please sum it up all to me and give the yogic form of Vishwarupa, all this together, if I am eligible for it, and if it is in my in my benefit for the future, if you consider it fit. So the responsibility for that great task, the decision to give him that darshan, is put on Sri Krishna by Arjuna, because he doesn't know whether it will be good for him or it will ruin him. So Sri Krishna gives him Divya Chakshu and says, now you see whatever you desire to see in me. And it is said that he sees that earlier Sri Krishna says this Vishwarupa Darshana was not shown to anyone. Even the Maharishis and gods, they have not had this darshan. It is said that there are 4 instances in which the Vishwarupa Darshana, I am focusing on that so that it is both the verses merge. The expansion of the body and the Vishwam and the Lokam, they are merging as one. It is said that Sri Krishna gave Vishwarupa Darshana at 4 instances. One to Mata Yashode, when he eats mud and he is caught hold of, and he is now accused of having taken the mud. We don't know where the mud went, and he is tied to a tree, and Amma comes and asks, did you really eat the mud? Where, Amma? You see, like that he opens the mouth, and inside that mouth, Yashodama is able to see all the universes. It is said the Vishwarupa Darshanam is seen in that small mouth of that innocent child. But she is removed and freed of that memory so that she can have the child and love him as the child back again. The second time is when Sri Krishna goes to the courts of Duryodhana to talk about peace before the war, and where he is denied even 2 villages or some homes for the Pandavas, even that is denied. And already Duryodhana has drafted a scheme to make Sri Krishna, get him trapped in a small pit or something like that behind the seat. And Sri Krishna there, in all terror, reveals the Vishwarupa Darshana. That is, of course, not the Divya Chakshu is not given. And literally, we can see Duryodhana being put in place. Of course, he must have overcome that by thinking anyway he is not participating in the war or something like that. We all do that. We all acquiesce to our ways and get back. Unless we have the grace of God, to have the tapasya and overcome these thoughts. That is the second occasion where Duryodhana and team in that sabha are given the Vishwarupa Darshana, not for jnana or the bhakti that they have shown, but literally to put them in their place with a threatening image right in front of them. What can be more threatening than that? All the worlds, all the things that are dear to you are completely annihilated in that mouth, into that being. And that is the second time. The third time is when Arjuna asks for this darshana and Sri Krishna gives. The fourth occasion is said to be after the Mahabharata war is over. There is said to be a rishi who is some rishi's name Yalkya or somebody is there. He accosts Sri Krishna and he is really troubled. He is really troubled that so much loss, so many people have died, so much sorrow has come because of the war. And he knows a little bit of the Bhagavad Swarupa of Krishna and says, you could have easily stopped this. All these losses you could have stopped. You were very partial to the Pandavas. So I am going to curse you, he says to Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna takes compassion on him and says, why do you waste your small little tapas that you have gained by your Guru's grace on such a thing? Don't waste your curse on me, because I am the Vishwam itself. Everything, birth, death, growth, illness, everything is in me. Creation, destruction, maintenance, everything is in me. Oh, is that so? You mean to say all these things are already in you and there is nothing to be worried about? And that, then show me that, he says. And that is in Bhishma Parva, it is said that this incident is recorded, that Sri Krishna gives the Vishwarupa Darshana and goes to Dwaraka from there. So those are the four instances where Vishwarupa Darshana is given. But back to our two verses, that what Bhagavan says about this Vishwarupa Darshana and about Darshana in general. Let us see, and how he brings us to the self, and how these two verses cover that whole gamut of seeing, however large or however small. How Bhagavan covers that whole gamut and brings us to Atman. That it may be a small thing you are seeing, it may be even the entire universe or the Vishwam you are seeing. Really doesn't matter. If you are not seeing the self, there is still Ajnana, says Bhagavan. Let us see in Bhagavan's own words. Talk 364, the Nellore professor asked about Vishwarupa Darshana. Bhagavan, Vishwatma Darshana is Vishwarupa Darshana. Don't mistake the Rupa and Nama Darshana to be Vishwarupa Darshana, it says Vishwatma Darshana. The Paramatma Darshana, which he wants us to do in Haryaditara Jivara, that is Vishwarupa Darshana, he says. This is not real Vishwarupa Darshana. Why? Let us hear. Whether small thing you see or the entire cosmos as revealed by Sri Krishna in his Vishwarupa Darshana to the gods and to the rishis and to Arjuna, because he sees gods and rishis praying to Sri Krishna in that Vishwarupam. Vishwatma Darshana is Vishwarupa Darshana. The universal self of the cosmic self is the cosmos. So, Ulagunmayagum Unarvillarkum Ullarkum Ulagalavam Unmai Unararkum Ulaginukku Adharamai Uruvatrarum Unarndarunmai. Even when our Bhagavan is seeing the whole cosmos together, he is already having the Vishwarupa Darshana in front. It is so easy for him to see the entire cosmos in one stretch. But he says that is not the real Darshana. The real Darshana is Vishwatma Darshana. Vishwatma Darshana is Vishwarupa Darshana. The universal self of the cosmic self is the cosmos. Sri Krishna started the discourse in chapter 2 by saying, I have no form. In chapter 11, he says, see my form as the universe. Is it consistent? Again he says, I transcend the three worlds. But Arjuna sees the three worlds in him. Sri Krishna says, I cannot be seen by men, God, etc. Yet Arjuna sees himself and the gods in him. No one could see, and yet Arjuna was endowed with the divine sight to see him. Of course, we see Yashodama and someone, I think Vidura in that whole court, is able to have the Vishwarupa Darshana or something like that. I am not very sure of that. But the others are terrorized by it because they have not really worshipped him in that form. And then the Arjuna Darshana, the Darshana given to Arjuna and to that Rishi later in Bhishma Parva. Of course, we see that 4 times he has given that at least. Arjuna sees the three worlds in him. Sri Krishna says, I cannot be seen by men, gods, etc. Yet Arjuna sees himself and the gods in him. No one could see, and yet Arjuna was endowed with the divine sight to see him. Does it not look a maze of contradictions? Even the rishis who were born later than him could not see him, he says. They cannot know me. Because obviously these eyes are not enough. Is the mind enough? The mind is not enough, says Sri Krishna. The answer is that the understanding is wrong. Stula drishti on the physical plane is absurd. Jnana drishti, subtle understanding, is necessary. That is why Arjuna was given divya chakshuhu, the divine sight. Can such a sight be gross? Will such interpretation lead you to a right understanding? Sri Krishna says, Kalosmi, I am time. We have seen in Guruvachaka Kovai, while doing the verse on time, that Guruvachaka Kovai, Muruganar Swamigal says that the jnani doesn't get caught in time. He identifies with time. The jnani who is having self-knowledge, he understands that the ego is still present, even in kalosmi, even in time. But that is not real darshana. The kalam, identification with kala also is not real darshana. One has to have atma darshana. Again, if the universe be his form, should it not be one and unchanging? So first point Bhagavan says is, should it not be one and unchanging? Why does he say to Arjuna, see in me whatever you desire to see? That means his form is according to the desires of the seer. So the Vishwarupa, the small or the largest, can only be the limits of the desire of the seer. They speak of divine sight and yet paint the scene, each according to his own view. There must be a view by Sanjaya also, but each of them, Amma sees in different way, each of them sees in their own way, because they can see only as God wants them in their limits to see. That means that his form is according to the desires of the seer. They speak of divine sight and yet paint the scene, each according to his own view. There is the seer also in the scene. Now, strangely, like in a dream, the seer is also there in the Vishwarupa Darshana. What is all this? Even a mesmerist can make you see strange scenes. You call this a trick, whereas the other you call it as divine. Why this difference? Anything seen cannot be real. Anything seen, when God is all, how can Arjuna alone stand outside and see? So any act of seeing limits the seen, and obviously God cannot be limited. The real form of Sri Krishna cannot be limited. Sadhuvam Swamigal is said to have famously said to one detractor who, after Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi, asks him, now that your Guru is gone, now that your Guru is dead, what are you going to do? Then Sadhuvam Swamigal is said to have famously retorted, only my Guru is living. All else are already dead. So if you want to live, identify with my Guru. That the Atma is only the source of all life. If you want to give some leeway for sadhana, the Atma alone is, says Sadhu Om Swamigal. And similar retort we find to a questioner by Bhagavan, when the questioner, after long and tortuous questioning of Bhagavan over the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedanta, he comes to the point, the end of the talk goes somewhat like this. He says, now that Sri Krishna is no more, I want a living Guru. And Bhagavan says, he is supposed to be a Gita expert. So Bhagavan says, have you learned this alone from Gita, that Sri Krishna is no more? Does he not say, Ahamatma Gudakesha, Sarvabhuta Shayastitaha, Aham Adischa Madhyamcha, Bhutanam Antayevacha. As Bhagavan says, his own identity is with the Paramatman. Sri Krishna also doesn't swerve. The Jnani doesn't swerve from the identity of Atma. There are no two Jnanis. There is only Jnana. That is why Muruganar Swamigal, he says, Bhagavan himself was all the deities. He was Shiva, he was Shakti, he is Shiva, he is Shakti, he is Vishnu, he is Ganesha, he is Subramanya, he is Christ, he is Allah, he is everyone. Because Bhagavan, Ramana, is all those deities, because he is the Atman, the one who has identified with the Atman. He is Kalatita, Deshatita, Srishti Atita. He is beyond the creation itself. Therefore, it is, in one sense, it is from him that all the deities come. That is why Bhagavan says, look to the source of the I thought. There the mind is absorbed. The entire creation is absorbed. All names and forms are absorbed. He takes us to the root of the entire creation, and that is present here and now. That point from which everything emanates. All come out only after the I thought comes out. So trace the source of the I thought is what we are going to see later in sadhana. But the Vishwarupa Darshana, let us handle it once and for all, that however expanded the vision may be, and it can be Kalosmi, Suryosmi, can be the Anubhava. Namandri, Nadedu, Nadedu, to the inward turned mind, it is so easy to coalesce all of space and all of time and gather them and take in. But that is not enough, says Bhagavan. That the Atma Swarupa has to be relayed or identified with. That you don't identify with all of space and all of time merely, but you have to turn inward from that. For whom is this time? For whom is this space? For whom is this Vishwarupa Darshana? உலகுண்மையாகும் உணர்வில்லார்க்கும் உள்ளார்க்கும் உலகளவாம் உண்மை உணரார்க்கு. Even we restrict it to Devaloka, Gandharvaloka, that loka, this loka. Like our truth may be limited to this world, but somebody who has learned about those lokas and practiced going there and coming back, as Sri Ganapati Muni says, I can go to Indraloka and come back, but I cannot hold the self, he says. It is so difficult to turn inward. So we understand the mahatva of Bhagavan's instructions. Turn inward, turn inward, turn inward. Because whatever is seen cannot be the truth. Only the truth of the seer has to be held, and that itself is the truth of the seen. The truth of the seer abided in is the truth of the seen. Let the seen be an atom or the whole of all the worlds put together. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in Atma Vicharam till 8 o'clock, when Akka will be giving us the summary. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. Namo Ramana. Namo Ramanaka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. When we say this prayer, prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings, which is based on the verse today also, Nandakumarji referred to Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutashe Sthitaha. And it is based on Bhagavan's answer to Amritanatha, then asked, "Who are you, O Ramana?" And Bhagavan says, Arunachala Ramana is the self, is the awareness, Arivam, where shining in the hearts of all beings, beginning from Hari. So in this context, Bhagavan acknowledges the existence of a world with its manifold variety and says, Hariyadi itara jiva radhavari jaguhil arivai rame paramatman. So the essence is the self. And that is what has to be found out, says Bhagavan. The self is shining in all beings. Yes, that means there are all beings. That means there is a world. Yes, perhaps there is. But what if? That is what Nandakumarji has reiterated to us. What if there is a world? What if there are thoughts? How do they matter? First of all, in earlier discussions, Nandakumarji has taken us through the three aspects as delineated by Bhagavan, three approaches to the world, which is the Ajatavada, the Drishti Shrishtivada, and the Shrishti Drishtivada. That is to say, there is no world. There is nothing. There is only the self, the Ajata. It is neither born, na jayate, mriyateva. It is neither born nor does it die. If it is not born, then Bhagavan says in Ulladu Narpadu, he says that it will not be born, it is unborn. Udiyadu. That is what he says. It is not born at all. The self is not born at all. So what is it that is saying I? This also he will ask us in the further verses. But here, as a concession to our perception, in fact, if we look at it, every word Bhagavan has spoken also, all the instructions, he says, in a way, he indicates that they are all concessions to our perception. Because he says in Ashtakam, when the truth has not been given or explained only in silence by Dakshinamurti, then where to speak about it? That's why you are standing silent as a hill. Again, he says it in Ekanma Panchakam also. Who is to speak about it when the great ones have only expressed it through silence? So, Bhagavan is using words. Once the words are used, once a teaching is given, already the world is acknowledged. The Guru and the Shishya are acknowledged. These verses are being given for the sake of the disciple, for the sake of the sadhaka. Bhagavan says, in the jnana there is no sadhaka, there is no sadhya, there is nothing to be reached, there is no guru, there is no disciple. So we must understand that this concession, it is a concession which Bhagavan is making for our sakes, saying that yes, there is a body, yes, there is a world. It's a concession made for us to feel, in a sense, comfortable at this point in our journey. Because when he says this does not exist, nothing is there, we may feel bewildered. So instead, in order to take us from where we are, holding our hand with great love to the truth, he says, all right, let us take it that there is a world and there is a body, and then that is true for the jnani also. And that world may be, as Nanda Kumarji said, it may be Virat Swarupam. It may be the very Vishwarupam of the Supreme One. It may be the Suryosmi, it may be the identification which Jagadishwara Shastri could experience. Or it may be Bhuvanosmi, which Lucia Osborne experienced, Prithviosmi. I became Mother Earth, she says. I could feel the grass growing on me, the trees growing on me, the rivers flowing on me. It could be anything. There are many, many visions. Muruganar Swami, in one of his songs, he says, Ramanani kaatchi parpala kaattinai manakkannude. Showed me so many visions, O Ramana, so many different types of visions you have revealed to me. And I often see that when Ujjwal depicts this, he shows it with some kind of a fear. In dance, Kaatchi Parpala Kaatina, actually we should have wonderment that Bhagavan shows us so many beautiful sights. But the depiction is with some fear. Oh my God, if I see multiplicity, then I may be caught in that. I may be subject to the bondage of believing I am a seer. So this entire verse, the purport of this entire verse, as Nandakumarji led us to it, is all right, there is a world, but what is the essence? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of this body being there? What is the purpose of the world being there? Because in the previous verse, Bhagavan told us, yes, udal nane, yes, there is a body. And recently we lost Maniyanna, Bhagavan's grandnephew. And I was going through an interview which we had with him in remembrance of him. And he recalls one incident when he was a young boy. And he says the operation had just been performed on Bhagavan's arm. The wound, very beautifully he said, it was a clean wound. It had been nicely, maybe the spirit has been applied, everything, but there is a huge wound in the arm. The dressing has not been made. And Bhagavan is putting his arm, and one of the attendants told this young boy, Mani, just go see Bhagavan. Because nobody is allowed. See, Bhagavan is in the dispensary, none of the devotees are allowed. And Maniyanna goes there, and now also, as recently as a few months back, he recalled, Bhagavan is looking into infinity just like that. Just like that. There is no movement. There is no chalana in his body. See, imagine the pain. And he had not taken general anesthesia. And he also, of course, recorded the doctor's statement that throughout the operation, Bhagavan was like that. But even after that, nobody is there. Nobody was there. This young boy is peeping in and seeing this great Vastu sitting over there. And that's why we have Humphreys saying that Bhagavan, the body of Bhagavan was like a corpse, he says. Imagine that body, that sacred body of Bhagavan, which just the darshan of that body, that rupa, is capable of liberating us. But still, Humphrey says that was like a corpse from which God was radiating terrifically. That is the truth. That is the truth of Bhagavan. That is the truth of the world. And it is to that truth that Bhagavan is taking us. Without compromising even one bit. Without allowing us to step down from that. Though, as a concession, he says, yes, say there is a world, there is a body. That's how we see it, isn't it? We see Bhagavan, we see the Jnani moving around, we see there is a world. We are not able to accept, even actually forget about experientially, even intellectually, it is difficult to come to terms with the fact that this world is not real. Although we lose sight of it every day in deep sleep, although it changes every day in our dream, we still like to hold on to it, saying this is real, this is real. And in this real world, with this real body, I must realize the self. That is our unsaid desire, unspoken approach. We're not ready to say, set it aside. Bhagavan said to Gambiram Sheshaya, set aside this body as a corpse. Meaning to say in the mind, don't bother at all about it, the way he had done as a boy of 16. And the world, what is there in this world? The world alone seems real to the Jnani, says Bhagavan, describing our plight and then taking us from there and says that the Adhara alone matters. The world does not matter. The thoughts do not matter. The self alone matters. What is the world? The world is only a series of thoughts. The world comes to us in the form of thoughts only. So Bhagavan says, don't hold on to this world. Let it rise. Let it subside. Every time it rises, go back to that source. Ask for whom, and make the bridge back to the self where the Jnani resides. Go back to that source of bliss. Let it be, let it appear, let the thought appear, let the world appear in the form of thought. Don't imagine that to be the truth. Don't get stuck, bound by that as the truth, but rather go to the Adhara of that Ulagam, that world of thoughts. Get back to that. Get back to the source of that again and again. This is why Bhagavan is there with us. This is why he stayed for 54 years in the body and has left behind his life, wherein we have so many such anecdotes, moment after moment after moment, where the world goes on. Bhagavan, so many things happen in the world. Bhagavan has repeatedly said, he has said, many curious things happen in this world. Many strange things happen in this world. Look upon the world in this way. When things happen in the world, don't say, oh, this is happening. Oh, that is happening. Why is this happening? Why is that not happening? No. He tells Humphreys, leave it, saying many strange things are happening in this world. Strange things will happen in this world. Don't fix your attention on any of the phenomena. Don't fix your attention even on the act of seeing. That is to be a witness. No, don't even be that. But fix your attention firmly. And he tells Humphreys the same thing to us. From now, From now, fix your attention firmly only on that which sees. உலகனுக்கு ஆதாரமாய் உருவற்றார் உணர்ந்தார் உண்மை. That truth, that is the grace of Bhagavan, which is turning our attention back again and again. The purpose, Bhagavan says in another answer to a devotee, why all this, Bhagavan? The purpose is to turn the mind inwards. The purpose of this multiplicity is to make us tire of it, not to be caught in it. It is to make us feel, oh my God, this is endless. This is just endless. Again and again and again it's going on. The same cycles, the same things, the same emotions, the same feelings, the same ups and downs. This is the world. Where is the source? It is the purpose to make us tired and want to rest in that boundless peace of the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramanaka.
Namo Ramana Sir, Namo Ramana.
Ramananjali, Ramananjali, Ramananjali.